Hey everybody, my name's Sammy and welcome to my channel. So with today's yoga practice, we're going to be moving through poses that can help develop your strength and stability. We're going to be using reps for this one, so we'll do about 10 repetitions of each of these poses, and there'll be around 8 poses in total, but they'll be paired up in twos. Of course, pair means two. So so you'll be kind of doing 2 poses back to back, and we'll be doing 10 repetitions and then holding each pose for a couple of breaths. So around about the count of 2 or 3. As always, we want to listen to our body and how it's feeling today. I'll be honest, one of my knees isn't feeling great. So you may notice that when I go into some of the poses, I'll probably pull back a little bit, like not be as deep, take a little bit more time getting into the pose. I still want to do my practice, but I am mindful just to be a little bit more careful while my knee is healing up. Okay, I'm also going to be using a bit of a rod to help give me some stability, just so there's just less pressure on my knee. But that's it. We're only human. That's the best we can do. Yeah. So so I'll do the first 2 poses. We'll kind of get through those, and then I'll hit the pause button. You can keep plodding through if you don't want to have a little break, but it's an opportunity just to reset, allow some time to kind of allow those poses to settle and see if you can notice any difference in terms of the muscle groups. I'll be naming the poses in Sanskrit language, which is the language that's used during yoga, but I'll also have the English interpretation as well. Okay, so we'll do a very quick warm up. If you're already warm and ready to go, you can kind of jump through this and start your practice. Otherwise, I'd love for you to join me, as we'll probably take about a minute to do this, and then we can start moving on. So from here, we'll just start to move the neck in circles. We want to do this slowly, just warming up the muscles and the joints. And then we can change direction when you're ready. And then we can tip some ears side to side. So there's lots of benefits for practicing yoga, and everybody has their reason for practicing yoga. But yeah, so a couple of them could be increasing your strength and stability. And then over the other way, just circling the elbows, circling the shoulders, circling the wrists. We can start to move the trunk now. So some gentle sideways movements can feel nice to move the body, especially if you've been in the one position for a little bit. And then we'll add some rotations of the spine. So again, I'm going to be very careful with this, with my dodgy knee as I rotate. And then we can start to do some movements of the spine in flexion and extension. Do a couple of them. Nice. And then we'll start to move into the hips a little bit, lower back. And rotate the other way when you're ready. And then I might plant a foot and then just move those hip joints a little bit more. And on the other side. And do a few taps of the toes for the ankles, and rising up on the heels for the calves and all that. All right, so the first 2 poses that we're going to do is chair pose, which is Utkatasana, and we're going to come into a back bend, which is Urdhva Hastasana. So the first exercise, its main essence is getting you strong in the legs. So listen for the cues, okay? And then with our Urdhva Hastasana, our back bend, we're working the muscles of the posterior chain all behind us, the back, the bottom, etc. Okay, so we'll come to the top of we'll stand in the middle of our mat, might be the best thing. So we want to feel nice and stable in our stance. So feet roughly hip width apart. We can spread the toes, even pressure through all those toes into the ground, right through to the inner and outer foot and the heel. So we really feel like we're rooted down into the floor. From here, we're going to dip into our hips and go to a depth that you feel comfortable with, that you're able to maintain. I'm going to offer some different variations for arm positions, so you can kind of pick out what you might like to do. So from here, we're going to dip into the hips, rise up through the arms if that feels good for you, and we'll just take about a 2 count here. 1 and 2, and then we'll rise up. We're going to tuck our tailbone down, switch on our bottom muscles, rise up and lift our heart space, and think about gently pressing the hips forward and holding that for 1 and 2. And then we're going to come back into our chair pose. So again, sinking into those heels, coming as deep as you want to for 1 and 2, and then rising up into your little mini back bend. So just come back as much as you're able to tolerate. If you're finding pain in the lower back, just ease on out of this position. And 2. So we're coming back into our chair pose. And you might find that the more that you do of these as your joints warm up, and 2, that you can kind of move your body into the shape as your muscles and joints warm up. 1, 2. So remember, your body fits the shape doesn't fit you. 1 and 2, and then rise up. So switch on those bottom muscles, tuck your tailbone into your back bend. And 2. Coming down into our chair pose. 1 and 2, and then rising up. Bring the hips forward, tailbone down, and 2. Now my arms are starting to get tired, so I'm going to bring my hands to heart space as I ease on down into chair, and 2, and then rising up into my back bend. 1 and 2. Just bring your head into a position that feels good for the neck. Coming down into our chair pose, and 2, rising up, 1 and 2. We've got 3 more to go. Now my counting isn't great, so hopefully we're on to our 8th one now, and then rising up. And of course, if you've had enough, you can always stop. And we have 2 more to go. Down we go, driving through the heels, the big toes, and 2, reaching up, lifting your heart, tucking your tailbone, and 2. Last one. 1 and 2, and rising up, pushing the hips forward, switching on the glutes, and 2. Nice. So this is where I'm going to take a pause, just get my breath back, and just allow those poses to land. See if I notice anything different about my body, any sensations that might be coming up, and have a little rest. Okay, so again, I'm going to actually take a little bit longer to have a rest because that was quite a lot of work for the legs and the back. So I'm going to take about a minute off. Of course, please keep going with this if you don't need a rest, and then when you're ready, jump back in, and yeah, we'll move on to the next 2 poses. Alrighty, we're back. So the next 2 poses we're going to be doing, we'll be focusing on our legs, a bit for our upper body, and we're going to get a nice stretch in between. So we've got kind of like what we call an active recovery pose, okay? So the first pose we're going to be doing is goddess pose, Utthita Konasana. We're going to get with a nice wide stride. Now, as wide as you feel comfortable, okay? Again, feeling that sensation like our big toe to our little toes are all firmly planted into the floor, even pressure in and out of foot, and driving the heels. So the more we drive through the heels, we take a little bit of pressure off our quads and get the back part of our body working a bit more, particularly the glutes. So from here, we're going to take a nice big breath in. And then when you're ready, come into a goddess. So with my arms, I'm going to come into cactus arms. So I'm going to draw the elbows slightly behind, squeezing my shoulder blades together, spreading the fingers. So we're going to hold this here for 1 and 2, and then we'll rise up and have a little active recovery as we root down through the feet and rise up through the fingertips. 1 and 2. Here we go again. So we got 9 more of these. Squeeze the shoulder blades down, come down as low as you can. 1 and 2, and then rise up. So there's a lot of leg work happening here. And 2. Okay, so we're getting a bit of inner thigh work as well because we've got a wider stance. And 2, and then rise up. 1 and 2. Good, coming down. So my bottom's out the back. I'm pushing through the whole of my foot, particularly the big toe and heel. And 2, and lift, really reaching like you're being pulled apart in Utthita Tadasana, which is star pose. Come on down, draw the elbows away, and out the back, and 2, and lift. Keep lengthening through the arms and legs. Halfway there, here we go, down we go, as low as you want to. Really draw those elbows behind you, and 2, and rise up, and 2. I'm huff and puffing already. Here we go, keep pressing through those feet, and 2, and rise, and 2. Here we go, 3 more, pushing down through the floor, lifting through the spine, and here we go, big stretch, and 2 more, drawing the elbows behind you, shining the heart forward, and up we go. I feel like I'm getting shallower and shallower with my squats. Here we go, last one, down we go, 1, and 2, and lift. Really reaching, stretching out, and 2. Nice work. So those are our next two poses that we've done. We're going to take a little pause here just to get our heart back, get our breath back, and just, yeah, again, just notice if we feel anything, maybe a tingling sensation in the legs and the arms. Get back to that steady state. Maybe show a little gratitude to our bodies for moving through those poses. And then from here, again, I'm going to hit the pause button. I'm going to grab another little drink. I get quite thirsty when I'm training. So again, if you want to go take a break, come back when you're ready and we'll move on to the next 2 poses. Okay, we're back. So as I mentioned earlier, I've brought my little trusty friend here, my little pole here, who's going to help me do these next 2 poses. The first one being Ashtachandrasana, which is our high lunge, and then moving on to a balance pose, okay? Now, yeah, because my knee's not feeling great, I just feel better having something there just to give me some stability. So it's totally okay to use whatever's handy, whether you're standing near a chair or a wall, whatever you need, please do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into a split stance. We're going to take our foot back, doesn't matter which side you start with, and we're thinking with our stance train tracks, so our feet about hip width apart, not tight rope where our foot is one behind the other. So we want to feel nice and stable before we start adding any movements of the body. We've got a little bit of a lean forward here, just a tad, and that's just going to allow us to move up and down and not feel like our back is jamming as we come down. With the front foot, we really want to find that steady, solid contact. So spread those toes, drive the heel through the floor, and we're going to take a nice slow tempo down, hold it for 2 breaths, and then come on up, okay? So from here, we're going to go 1, 2, and then hold it for 1, 2, come up for 1, 2, and then I'm going to shift my weight to my front foot and come up for my high knee. Woohoo! And I'm working really hard here because I'm on a spongy mat on carpet, so it's really hard. Okay, so that's our first set. So we're actually doing 5 on each side with this one. So it'll be 10 reps in total, 5 on each leg. So I'm going to go down again. So we don't need to rush through these exercises either. Hold it for 1, 2, and then stand up. Come into, whee, my high lunge. I'm trying to find something to focus on. All right, here we go again. So before we come down, be okay with taking time to land your foot and put it in a position that you're able to maintain stability. Hold it down there. And embrace the wibble wobbles. It just means you're working really hard. Come up slow and then shift the weight to the front foot. Bring the heel under hip, under shoulder. I've just got a light grip on my pole here. Okay, we got 2 more. So bring that foot back, slow down, hold that. Lots of work coming into this exercise or this pose. Whoop. Coming into our high knee. I've always found balancing stuff very challenging. Last one. Down we go. I hope I counted 5 and not 6. Oh well, if it's 6, it's good for me. And then up. I'm going to shift my weight to the front foot. and then down. Good. I'm actually really proud of myself because this is actually my bad balance side. I always have to work really hard, but now I'm going to go on my dodgy knee side. So we'll just see how things go with that. So let's set ourselves up. Take that foot back that you haven't used. All right, or that you just used, and then the front foot is the one that we're up to. So spread the toes, contact with the heels, maybe a little lean forward. And I've got a light grip on my post. Holding that for 1, 2, and then I'm going to come up, stand tall. And yes, I definitely feel like this is challenging for me, but I'm going to push on because I'm not feeling any pain. Here we go. So let's reset. Take our time to reset. Light grip on my post. 2. I don't really need the post too much for the lunges. It's just mainly for the balance part. It just saves me picking it up and putting it down all the time. Land your back leg, come down when you're ready, taking a bend into that back knee, pushing through the whole of the front foot, and then rise up, whoop, into a high knee. And let's do 2 more. So landing that foot, whoops. So as you get tired as well, you're going to be really challenged at times. So be kind to yourself. It's okay if you kind of lose balance and have to put a foot down because we're getting tired. Good, let's land that. Come on down. Hold that for about a count of 2. Then rise up. Coming up. Oh my goodness. Is this the last one or do we have to do one more? We'll do one more for good measure. I've lost count. I'm really terrible at this. Sorry guys, whoops. And hold it up there. Good job, awesome. All right, so lots going on there as we shift from doing a lunging movement to a balance movement. Let's just take a moment here. Again, just letting those movements settle into our bodies, catch our breath, see how we're feeling, giving ourselves a little bit of a thank you for moving through those 2 poses. Nice, lovely. So we're actually going to finish our 2 other poses on the floor. So again, I'm going to take a little break, set myself up on the floor, and yeah, I'll meet you down there to do, the final 2. See you soon. Okay, so we're up to the final part of our practice and we'll be moving on to plank pose and then bring our bodies to the mat, chaturanga down, and then finishing off in salabhasana, which is locust pose. So the first pose we'll be focusing on some upper body strength and core work, and then we lower our body down. Again, there's a little bit of those core and upper body movements as we lower our body down, and then with our body completely on the floor, we're going to be lifting up the back part of our body and working on our, again, posterior chain, or the legs, the bottom, and the back as well. I'll offer some variations for this. These are probably I find one of the most intense poses, the plank and the salabhasana. So listen out for my cues and pick out what's going to be best for your body today. Okay, so first of all, we're coming onto our hands and knees as our start point. So we're in tabletop pose. So we can spread our fingers so we've got a nice stable base, thinking about pressing through, not only through the palms, but our fingertips, the pads of our fingers, the knuckles, everything. We'll think about lifting the upper back to the ceiling, and then start to bring the knees a little bit back behind the hips. So we're tucking the tailbone and we get this nice flat body kind of happening here. Now you can do these, stay on your knees, or you can lift up your knees and come down onto your toes. Okay, now I'm going to stay on my knees for this one. I still find it quite challenging being on my knees. So we're going to begin. So we're lifting up our upper back to the ceiling, just gently tucking our tailbone down, maybe drawing up the lower belly to the spine and maintaining this position. And then we're going to start to lower the body down slowly with control. So a little bit of arm strength there. And then from here, we're going to come into locust pose. So at the moment, our whole body's just resting on the mat. And from here, have a little bit of a breakdown with this. So start with lifting your feet off the floor. We want a little bit of glute tension here as we support the lower back, okay? See how your back feels like this. If you want to add an upper body part as well, or you can even pop the feet down and just lift the upper body and think about drawing your shoulder blades together and down the back to support that spine and tucking your tailbone down. Or you can lift up your upper body and your lower body. So kind of pick out what's best for you. And we'll keep our gaze just looking down the mat so we've got a nice long spine here from crown to our tailbone. Okay, so those are our 3 movements. From here, we're going to tuck our toes, big press up into our plank. Okay, so we've got our shoulders over our wrists, lifting the upper back to the ceiling. Again, like I said, you can come onto your toes and then we'll lower down with control. Okay, and then from here, roll the shoulders away from the ears and you're either lifting the upper body or the lower body or both. Okay, we'll hold that for a couple of breaths. And then again, big push, tuck my toes, come on up, come into my plank. Zipping up that lower belly, watch we're not sagging the belly. And then lower down nice and slowly when you're ready. Take your time. If your belly gets there first, that's okay. And then from here, roll the shoulders away from the ears, lifting up either upper or lower body or both. Good. Put the hands and toes on the floor. Big press up, reaching up, keeping the chest through the upper arms. Slowly melting the body to the mat. And then from here, again, picking out how you're going to do your locust pose. So very intense poses, these ones. Big press. So do as many as you can. You don't have to do all 10. And then lower when you're ready. Smooth lowering. And then coming into your locust pose, Salabhasana. So we're halfway there. So big press, keep the elbows tucked in by your side. Lots of work for the back of the upper arm, the chest, the front of the shoulders. And then lowering down. Oh, I'm starting to feel it now. And then here we go. Keeping tension in the whole back of our body. All those muscles are switched on. 4 more, big press. Up we go. So when you take your time and go through the movements slowly and add a little pause, it makes it so much harder. And then coming through with our back extension. And then 3 more, big press, up. Definitely don't want to lose count now. My chin's got a little tuck in it, so I've got a nice neutral spine, lowering down. Oof, my heavens. Here we go. We are doing Shavasana at the end of this. And then big press for 2 more. Let's go, we can do it. Big press up, lifting the upper back to the ceiling or to the sky if you're doing this outside. Lowering down. Oh, my heavens. And coming into our back extension. So we're working the front side of the body on the first pose and the back side of the body on the second pose. Last one, big push. Ooh. Keep that belly button tucked towards the spine, just gently. And then lowering down. Oh my goodness. I can really feel this in my arms. And holding that position. And down we go. Nice work, everyone. Okay, so we're all done. I think we've covered most parts of our body from here. And now we're going to do probably the most important poses in yoga, and that's Shavasana. So we really get time to reap the rewards of our practice, get that heart and lungs back, and yeah, just have a good old rest. So come into a position that feels comfortable for you. Lying on your back doesn't always feel relaxing. So, you want to come into something where you can maintain stillness and able to just let go. For me, I like to pop something under my knees. So I'm going to grab my blanket and kind of roll it up. Tuck it there. All right, I'm going to take my glasses off. So from here, we're just going to let the body be still. It's done so much work today. So now we're just going to treat it with some kindness and compassion. Let it be heavy. Focus on our breath. Let the whole of our body melt into the mat. And just, relax. And I'll gently ease you out of this Shavasana in just a few moments. We'll give it a couple of minutes here. And then when you're ready, start to bring some gentle little movements back to your body. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes, maybe rock your head from side to side with your ankles. Maybe reach the arms over your head, have a little stretch here. Squeeze it in, wake up our bodies slowly and gently. And then when you're ready, rolling over to one side, using your arm strength to come up to a comfortable seated position. I'm going to sit on my little blankets here. I find it more comfortable sitting on something, particularly as I get older, my hips get a little tight. So sitting elevated kind of helps me feel a little bit more relaxed in my seat. So this is a yoga practice. So I always close my yoga practice with a little gratitude. So if you'd like to join me by bringing your hands to your heart space with a little bow, as we give thanks to our amazing bodies for working so hard through our practice today, for our breaths for nourishing us, and for our minds for guiding and supporting us. Thank you everybody for joining me for today's practice, and the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. So again, thank you so much for having me in your lounge rooms or wherever you're doing this. If you've got any ideas that you want to share in terms of what kind of content you'd like to see, just leave it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and, share me with your friends, family. Do all those YouTubey things. Otherwise, have a brilliant day or evening or whenever you're doing this practice, and well done you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.